sunshine with you, which is great. John and I are going to give you a snapshot of Great Asby Broadband, which seems to be being held up as a good example of how to do it yourself if you're into rural broadband. John's given me this device which I've never used before. Oh yes, it does work.
Right. I'm a geek too. But that means, Miles, that if you want to be on the stage where people can see you, you can press it.
I know, but I won't be able to see that. Thank you all the same. Right, so why community broadband? And the answers are there before you. We have no conventional ADSL broadband in Great Asby. And ironically, that is because the cable that brings telephony to this village is a fibre optic cable. But the gubbins at each end of it is designed purely for delivering telephony and not broadband, so no broadband. We are too far from the local exchange in any case because it's, what, 5 miles from here by road, it's probably a bit further by telephone cable. Even if we had a copper cable, the chances are we'd be too far away to get a reasonable connection. We don't really have a mobile signal in Great Asby worth speaking of. If you hang out of your bedroom window in the dead of night, you might get a text. Other than that, it's pretty useless. Satellite, in our experience, is a bit too slow and rather too expensive. Certainly, if you're going to advise every single household to have their own satellite dish and their own connection. So for those reasons, we started to look for a different solution. And in looking for a solution, there are really two essential elements that you need to be able to deliver. The first, and most important, is the backhaul. This is the connection between you, wherever you are, back to the internet. I mean, it doesn't go straight back to the internet, it goes back through various other routes, through various other high-speed services, but essentially you need something very close to where you are situated called a point of presence that you know will take you back to the internet and do so very quickly. Barry's already set a standard. 100 megabits per second symmetrical is the minimum you really want to be looking for in your backhaul. The other element to delivering a local service is some means of connecting individual subscribers or customers to that backhaul. So you need a local distribution system, which is essentially a local network. There are various ways of doing it. We are very lucky in Great Asby to have the benefit of a 100 meg fibre optic cable, which was brought in and activated initially as part of the Clio network. This Clio, Cumbria and Lancashire Education Online, as most of you probably already know, is the network that Barry designed and which was implemented in order to connect every single educational establishment in those two counties back to the internet. And our school was lucky to have this 100 meg fibre optic cable to deliver its connection to the internet. And initially we actually piggybacked on that, and we had an Ethernet cable from the school to our first wireless device. More recently, we decided we needed our own fibre termination, and so we paid to have a fibre connection from the village hall back across the back to where it all comes in, where all the cabinets are. So we're now independent of the school, but we're still using the same backhaul to the internet. So in effect, what we did was create what is known as a digital village pump. In other words, it's a source of connection to the internet available to the whole village. And in the old days, when you had water village pumps, everybody walked to the pump, filled their bucket, walked back again and drank their water. Well, we haven't required people to walk to the village hall with their laptops, log on and do their interneting. We do actually deliver the connection to their houses. At the moment, we purchase 2 megabits a second from Lancaster University Network Services. They are the service provider for Clio, and when we first took this arrangement with them, we were offered 2 meg, and that was sufficient in those days. It's not sufficient now. The local distribution is done by means of a 2.4 gigahertz wireless mesh network, consisting of 7 routing devices, or nodes, to which subscribers connect using a wireless access point, a WAP, as we affectionately call it. And this has worked reasonably well up until now. But we have discovered that the wireless mesh network is not terribly reliable. The software is quite complex, and you do get a lot of variation in performance. We get complaints from people that any time from about 3:30 to about 8 o'clock in the evening, it all slows down considerably. And the assumption is made that that's because the children are coming home from school and going on Facebook or things like that. I don't know what it is, but it's certainly a replicable phenomenon, and it is annoying. So we managed to deliver 2 meg to our customers. Sometimes they get 2 meg and can use it. Other times it's lower, 1.5, 1, possibly even less than that. It is essentially a symmetrical connection. So generally speaking, you get as fast up as you get down. Right, I'm now going to try and show you, better than this shows you, our network. Just bear with me a minute. Somewhere you will find. There we are. Right. That's a small scale view of the whole of the network. If I can shine this on. That's our northernmost mesh point node, and that is our southernmost at the moment. You can see there's a concentration of nodes in the village itself. We put one up here because the people who lived around here and somewhere around here and out here couldn't see any of the mesh boxes in the middle of the village. The one up there then connects back to the village hall and other mesh boxes, but it also beams out to the people who live around here. This one down here isn't in existence yet, but it's where we would like to go. It's where we would like to extend our network so that more people can connect to it. Now, if I zoom in a bit, you get a slightly better picture of the centre of the village. And the village hall is where the primary mesh box is located. It connects exclusively to the church, and then the church and all the other nodes all connect up to each other and perform this routing process that the software is designed to deliver. So that's how it is at the moment. Let me see if I can get back to my presentation now. It's here somewhere.
You can see why so much bandwidth.
That's all it. That's it, yes. Here we go. Right. The church has a mesh box tucked in the bell tower, just in there. You can't easily see it. I think the next slide might actually show it better. There we go. So there's a little mesh box tucked in there, and there's a cable that comes out of there and connects up to that antenna. And the church can see everything. I mean...
Thank you, Miles!
In purely wireless terms, I think. No promises in any other respect.
Oh, yeah.
And all the other nodes connect very easily to the church. I mean, we were advised that this is a good place to put a wireless node for fairly obvious reasons, but I tell you, it's a very difficult place to get to. So if ever you need to do something with that particular box, and we have had to on a few occasions, it's not easy or straightforward. Right, the other node that is of interest is the one at Goodley Hill, which, as you can probably work out, is what we call an off-grid installation. It doesn't use mains power, it uses solar and wind power, and between the two we managed to keep the battery charged up very well and run the mesh box. It's been running continuously since February of this year, when we added the wind turbine to the setup, and that's the one that feeds people at that end of the village who couldn't really connect in any other way. There's a closer view of it. Right, I'm now going to hand over to John, where is it, who is our company secretary, and is going to tell you a little bit about how the organisation is configured and operates.